Hey, Russ.
Hey, afternoon.
All right.
Yes, not too bad, thank you. How you doing?
Okay, thank you.
Good, good, good.
Quite quiet. I'm doing a switch headphones. Bear with me a sec.
Let me know when you're back. You can see some people pulling in.
Okay, I'm back.
That's better. Yeah, much better. I look more comfortable as well.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've been on one of these, so not nice to be back. Looks like we're expecting a few more people than last time I was involved in this. I think there was about
All right.
15 of us last time. I think we got about
Okay.
200 people registered.
Really? Okay.
No pressure.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, hi to all those that joined us so far. I can see about 8 people so far, so it's nice to have a few people join.
I've paused the recording for now, Russ. So you let me know when is a good moment to start, and I'll just hit play.
Cool, good. How many people do you normally wait for? I can see we've got about 10 people on the stream so far.
Typically we'd have sort of 35 to 40 people on the call.
Okay, cool. Give it a few more minutes then. I can see people kicking in. I've seen at least one project lead join the call, so that's brilliant news. So hoping today to have a few people join, a few project leads join, and we can spend a bit of time talking about some of the projects we've had submitted for Carbon Hack so far. The things have been developing quickly. We're up to 53 submitted projects now, which I thought was fantastic. I know you and Asim have been working really hard to try and support everybody, answer everybody's questions. So it's great to see people starting to submit so many impact framework projects.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to see some of the things that I hoped would be submitted starting to actually get submitted. Because there's definitely some things that I think will add a lot of value that I'll
Yeah.
use. That's very cool.
Yeah, there's some really ones that really interested me. There was the Figma integration one, like really extending it out beyond like what we typically measure. So I thought there was some really great ideas.
Big one there. Yeah, I don't think I saw that yet. Is
Harm,
that a
I think
recent
it's
one?
harmful, mitigating the harmful effects of design. I think it was called. Yeah,
I
mitigating
I see
harmful
it.
designs at source.
I see it. I see it. Huh. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, hopefully we can get into some of these today and start talking about some of these projects. We've been working hard on the IF team still.
Yeah. 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 Well, we're on like kind of code freeze at the
Yeah,
moment. So it's probably more like a code chill. But this sprint, we've really just been trying to be introspective and sort out our internal processes and just yeah, take a look at how we're managing all our GitHub repositories and our QA processes and all of that kind of stuff. And take a bit of a breather from shipping features for a couple of weeks. Get the unit test coverage back up to 100%. Sort out more integration testing and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully when activity does pick up again at the end of the hackathon, we're yeah, we've got all our housekeeping done.
yeah, that's it. All of the admin that gets parked for later, and you get any new things built.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I can see we've got a few people on the call now, and it's coming up to 35. So should we make a start?
Yeah, let me start the recording.
And I will. I'm going to share my screen as I kick off. Shall we? Oops. Uh, okay, what I've done, how do I get out of that? Let me try again. Um, I just lost the, yeah, sorry. Too used to using Meetup. Let's try again, shall we? There we go. Good, great. So let's make a start then, shall we? So welcome all to this live stream for Carbon Hack 2024. So the hackathon from the Green Software Foundation. And if you aren't already aware, this hackathon is all around measurement. So with a focus on the sort of impact framework project from the GSF. So I'd like to welcome you all to this call. So you might have seen in previous calls, our esteemed executive director leading all of the calls. He's asked me to step in today, and my name's Russ, and I'm a project manager here at the GSF, and I work predominantly within our community working group. But I also look after the Hackathon platform. So you might have seen my name popping up, and you might have seen some of the housekeeping happening on your project issue. So I'm the one behind the scenes keeping everything nice and clean and tidy. So you can ask me questions around the hackathon mechanisms, how things work generally, but technical questions you probably want to direct to Joseph. So hey, Joseph.
Hi Russ, hi everyone. Yeah, my name's Joseph. I'm project manager and co-developer on the Impact Framework project. My background's in environmental science. I was a climate modeler for many years. Spun out a software company and then joined those two worlds together here at the Green Software Foundation. And I'm on the call to basically help out with any technical questions around the Impact Framework, how it works, what you can contribute, what you can do with it, all of that kind of stuff. And please just use the Q&A widget if you want your questions. If you want your questions answered, if you use the chat function, what we found in the previous calls is they kind of get lost. It's difficult to scroll back up and find the questions and then link the answers to them. But if you use the question and answer widget, then we can go through them systematically and make sure they get answered on the call. Thanks. Back to you, Russ.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So today we're going to try and cover a few things. So firstly, I'll give a very brief, very brief introduction to the hackathon. So I'm sure you're all aware of what's been happening and the hackathon itself, but I'll give you just a quick whiz through, just for anybody not familiar. And I'll especially highlight just some of the timelines as we've been actually now actively hacking. We've opened up an opportunity for project leads to join this call. So I'm hoping we're going to have at least a couple of project leads for people who've submitted hackathon projects on the call. And really, there's an opportunity for them to talk a little bit about their project, get any questions answered they might have, and also recruitment. So you've probably seen on the repository, there are teams that are actively recruiting. So this is an opportunity for if you want to try and attract new contributors to your project, also use this space to sort of post recruitment messages and try and draw anybody in. We're going to have a look at the impact framework. If there's any technical specific questions, we're going to allow time to go through those technical questions around the impact framework. And then finally, we'll wrap up by looking through the submission guidelines for the prizes. So we're now in the hackathon. The hackathon finishes on the 8th of April. We've now published the criteria for submitting a solution for judging. So we'll spend a little bit of time just going through those at the end, and I'll explain what we're looking for and how you go about submitting your solution when you have it ready. So, and as Joseph said, please drop questions in the Q&A. Anything else we'll be monitoring the chat box for. And okay, well, the hackathon. So I said I'll briefly introduce the hackathon. If you're not already aware, as I said, this is the hackathon from the Green Software Foundation, very much focused on measurement this year around our impact framework tool. So what is Carbon Hack? So Carbon Hack's all about helping develop and evolve the ecosystem around impact framework. So Impact Framework is our tool, and there's a lovely video that I'd highly recommend you watching if you haven't already, that explains the ins and outs of Impact Framework, exactly how the the structure works, how our pipeline structure works, and how you can really start adopting it. But in terms of this hackathon, we're looking at developing plugins, or sorry, projects in a few different areas. So we're looking at projects around beyond carbon. So how can we use Impact Framework to measure things more than just carbon? Whether that might be water, waste, deaths. I know Asim keeps talking about a number of other factors. We're looking for people to develop plugins, so to really allow additional functionality as part of the Impact Framework. We're encouraging people to develop content, so really training, spreading the word, promotion around Impact Framework, and then contributions to the framework itself, so actually helping to enhance the Impact Framework. This hackathon is very much focused on the Impact Framework. As I mentioned, we're already up and running, so hacking officially started on the 18th of March, and hacking finishes on the 8th of April. So that's the key sort of milestone to bear in mind, is all project registrations and submissions need to be been made by 23:59 on the 7th of April if you'd like them to be judged. And there will be a virtual award ceremony on the 18th of April, and we'll be opening up registrations for that very shortly. There'll be a link on this website where you can actually register for that award ceremony. So please do come and join us on the 18th of April to sort of really see some of the amazing projects that have been built throughout this hackathon. We have announced our judges. So you'll see a selection of the judges who will be sort of looking at the submitted projects. And these judges represent a cross-section of the membership of the GSF from a variety of different backgrounds. So we've got a sort of a nice diverse group of people who will be assessing all of the project submissions and deciding where the prize is, and ultimately the money will be awarded. And as I mentioned, towards the end of this call, I'll go through the judging criteria and the judging submission process a bit more, so you can sort of see exactly what we're looking for and exactly what you need to prepare to hopefully start winning those prizes. If you aren't already registered, if you aren't already on the mailing list for the hackathon, please do take a moment to sign up. That will sort of keep you up to date with all of the information, regular newsletters throughout the remainder of the hackathon, and a very clear link for you to register for that award ceremony. This all lives on hack.greensoftware.foundation. If you want to actually get involved, you want to move over to our GitHub repository. So our GitHub repository, which is under the Green Software Foundation and /hack, is where you'll find all of the details about the hackathon itself, find details for contributing a project, being part of another project, ultimately submitting your solution, and very much seeing what everybody else is up to. So you can see here the listing of all the existed submitted solutions, and we're now up to 53 projects in motion, which is fantastic to see. So it's been really sort of growing, especially over the last few weeks. I'd say been a massive influx of new projects. So this repository is the source of all your information. You'll find a wiki, which is bursting with everything you need to know to get involved and be part of this hackathon. So high level overview of the hackathon. What we want to get into today is talking about projects. So I'm hoping that we might have some project leads on this course. If you're a project lead and you'd like to discuss your project, can you just drop a message in the chat box? So I think I saw Dario. Are you with us? I think I saw you join the call. I know you're one of our project leads. I wonder if there's anybody else on the call who's a project lead who would like to come and talk a little bit about their project today.
Hey, while we're waiting for responses, Russ, there's a question in the Q&A widget. Can people be part of more than one project?
And the answer to that is no. we're restricting participation to one project at a time. We did relax the team sizing. There was previously restrictions on team sizing, so we've removed that, but there is still a rule that we'd like to see you participate in just one hackathon project. So Dario, I see you've posted something. Would you like me to unmute you? Would you like to talk through your question yourself? Very happy to have you on the call. I'll give you a second to post in the chat if you'd like to chat, like to me to unmute you. Sure, good, okay. Allowed to talk. So Dario, welcome. You should now have the ability to talk to us.
Hi guys, do you hear me?
There you go, you do indeed.
Great. I'm sorry, I'm a bit still confused from my surgery last week, so I'm not really completely ready for the meeting. But still, I have a question for the impact framework and my own plugin green code. My plan is to combine them together, and my basic question is if I can measure how much a virtual server on Azure is using electricity with impact framework. I wanted to give IF a try, so I learn how it measures it. But a quick answer would be great from you guys.
Yeah, I can answer that. Right now, we have one plugin for Azure, and it allows you to get data from the Monitor API for virtual machines only. There's several hackathon projects that have already been submitted to expand the Azure Importer to other services. Pretty much all the services, to be honest, across the issue board. There's suggestions for all kinds of Azure plugins. But the version of IF and IF plugins that you can download from our repository today only includes an Azure Importer for VMs. So if you've got some specific thing that isn't covered, you'd have to build the plugin or find another project building the plugin and collaborating.
Okay, so that means if I run something on an Azure VM, I cannot directly measure it with the IF.
On a virtual machine, you can. You can point the Azure Importer to your subscription ID and use the Monitor API. It'll automatically gather CPU utilization, memory utilization, etc. for whatever timestamps you provide. But it only works for virtual machines right now. It doesn't work for any other Azure services.
Okay. Okay, understood.
Okay.
And is there somewhere
thanks,
in the docs, Joseph, that I'd find reference to the Azure Importer?
Yep. Let me grab a link. There's documentation on the if.greensoftware.foundation website, and there's also a README doc in the IF unofficial plugins repository. I'll post links. I can see that Dario also asked his question in the Q&A widget, so I'll post a link to both of those sources in the answer in the widget.
Great, thank you.
Amazing. Are you still recruiting, Dario? Because I can see you were looking for teammates. Are you still looking for people to join your project?
I have found one teammate, so I'm not actually looking anymore.
Okay. Well, that's great news. I'm glad it worked, and I'm glad you got your team. Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for asking that question. And
thank you for answering.
And next up, we have Michael. Michael, allowed to talk. There you go. Michael, you have the mic.
All right. Hi. I don't know if I'm I'm probably not on video. I'm joining on my phone. But yeah, I guess almost more of a status update / maybe some questions. But I feel a bit behind. I'm getting a team together, and I've got some interested folks from the community to join, who seem like they were interested in joining my team. I'm not sure how to verify that they've actually signed up, other than, contact them. But is there a place that we can see, that they have indeed signed up, like as part of our team, if they came from the community?
I can see in our back end who has registered. So if somebody has registered against your team, I can see that, but that isn't publicly exposed. But I can
Gotcha.
give you, I can respond to your email thread with details of anybody who's registered against your project, if that would be helpful.
Okay, that's fine. I can also individually contact them. I was just figured it'd be, if there was a place where it was like there was a public list, I figured that'd be a little easier than trying to, because right now I'm having to contact them kind of through GitHub. Or what I need to do is collect all their email addresses so I can message them that way and get them on a Slack or Discord or something maybe, but haven't done that just yet. But yeah, my project is about measuring the carbon impact of a website and website usage. I work at Mozilla, so the plan was to try and get a bunch of Mozilla folks to chime in on that, because there's some pretty qualified people, I think, that can help with that issue. So far, I haven't been able to talk any of them into signing up for the hackathon yet. I think they're afraid of commitment because they have a lot going on. But they've been willing to answer questions of mine. And I know you all have been very helpful in kind of putting together some recommendations of approach as well. I, over the weekend, used the impact framework for the first time and didn't have too much trouble getting up and running. And I've been kind of collecting some thoughts for you all about things that were, just a little tricky for me that could maybe be made a little more clear. Also been thinking about like how to translate the stuff that comes out of the manifest file into something that's like, just a little more publicly digestible. And that's where I'm at with my project.
It seems there's been a bit of interest. I can see there's been quite a few people looking to join your project, Michael. So obviously there's something really interesting here, and I guess, as you said, this is really trying to do something quite broad. I imagine that could have quite broad-reaching impacts.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and what I'm trying to figure out too is Firefox makes, we actually worked with the Green Web Foundation on this, and maybe you know this, but we have an energy profiler built into the browser on the back end that can, measure a lot of it. Via the Green Web Foundation, there's actually a sort of like carbon estimation tool. So I'm trying to figure out how that would maybe coincide with the impact framework itself, if at all. And if so, how to leverage that. But certainly, at least the people on the Mozilla side that were responsible for building that out have I've been reaching out to them to kind of, and they've said they're willing to be a sounding board for whatever pipeline we come up with to sort of give their opinion on whether we're on the right approach, if that's how they would implement it, etc.
Yeah, maybe I can add some detail there. So we have the closest most related plugin that we have at the moment is probably the CO2JS plugin, which is just a TypeScript wrapper around the CO2JS model. I'm not sure if that's similar to the browser model that you're talking about.
I would bet that it is, yeah.
So
I bet it's similar.
We actually just re-implemented the logic from CO2JS and TypeScript
Gotcha.
rather than trying to use the actual model itself. So that's one option. The other option is, I don't know if you can expose an API or anything like that from your model and then hit that API from the TypeScript plugin. But the general kind of logical flow would be that you would grab the carbon metric from that model, whether it's a re-implementation or grab directly, and then feed it into a pipeline with other plugins from the IF that would turn that carbon into something else, like maybe a software carbon intensity score. Or, I mean, people are building plugins to turn it into all kinds of things, water and loads of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I know. I'm excited to see some of that. That's cool. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
helpful.
Okay,
Yep, that makes sense. There is not, I've asked them previously about an API because I'm like, I would love for people using the Firefox browser to be able to just see via like a public, without having to go into the inspector and start a profiling session, et cetera, be able to see, you know, the carbon usage on a tab or on their across their browser. But apparently there's some technical complications to that. It's not impossible, but it's not something that they've implemented yet. So I don't think that will be an option to leverage it as an API.
Is it maybe possible to have some kind of bridge plugin that, I don't know, maybe that model can dump some data into a CSV or something you can then read in from the plugin or something like, or even if you had to make it some kind of static thing. Or
I think that, yes, I think that could be very possible. In fact, you can export profile sessions, you can import them into the browser. So there seems to be a lot more flexibility there. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, that might be a way to bootstrap it. We have some other plugins that work like that, where we maintain a local CSV file or you know, some other kind of database, and the plugin actually just grabs data from there, and then we periodically update that CSV.
What's a good one to look at to see? Oh, sorry. What's a good one to look at to see how you've implemented that?
You can look at we have a WhatTime plugin that grabs some of its data from a CSV file. We also have this this model called cloud metadata that kind of gets all of its information actually from a local CSV file that's in the GitHub repository. It basically just takes the name and region for a particular cloud instance, and then looks up all the associated metadata from a local CSV that we maintain, so like processor type and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of that's one of the things. It's commonly in the pipelines because that information is hard to access. So it's one of those things that we decide to maintain locally, and it's really useful information for the rest of the pipeline. So very often the bridge between just having a little bit of information about what you're running in the cloud and having the granular information about like what you're actually running in the cloud that can feed the other plugins. So that might work as a kind of probably not quite a template, but at least an example to bootstrap your way in.
That's great, because that's actually the repo that I just stood up to just test out the impact framework and make sure I could run it. I think those are it's from one of your sample manifests, and I think that's actually the pipeline. So yeah, I got the WhatTime working, and
it's a common flow for us. It should be whatever plugin that you're interested in. There should be an example manifest in the IF repository under examples manifests.
Awesome.
So you should be able to find out how to invoke it by looking. There's quite a few you might have to just kind of look through. We tried to name them sensibly, so you should be able to see it at a glance. But maybe you have to look inside several and find the pipeline that works for you.
I think pretty straightforward, yeah. And someone reached out too I saw they had tried to do a pull request into your unofficial plugins, and you responded that, you know, the idea would be that would live in their own repo. But they seem to have made some pretty good progress on this same problem that I'm working towards. So I want to reach out to them and try to coordinate.
You know what? That's actually a perfect segue, because that was one of the important things I wanted to remember to say on this call. Was just to reiterate to people that we're not really looking for plugins to be raised as pull requests into the IF plugins repository. The idea is actually to develop these in your own GitHub repositories or something, you know, wherever you want to maintain it, and then submit the links to be judged rather than pull requests. We want to kind of minimize how much we're maintaining as the IF core team, and we want to kind of inspire an ecosystem to grow of thousands of plugins and not be bottlenecked by the number that we can maintain. You know, so we're trying to discourage pull requests into the IF plugins, our standard library, and encourage people to maintain them in their own GitHub repositories. And you know, maybe one of the things that we need to think about in the next few sprints is creating some kind of registry or centralized list of where all these things sit. But that's kind of anyway, what I just because we started having pull requests into IF plugins already, we haven't done maybe haven't messaged clearly enough around that, but we're not really looking for pull requests into those repositories. We're trying to minimize them.
You mean you don't
So
want
thanks for the reminder.
pull requests for 1,000 plus impact framework plugins?
It might take us a while to get through them. Yeah, so thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all from me. I don't know if if you have any feedback, I'm open to it, but otherwise I just need to assemble the team and let people get started doing what they're best at.
Yeah, well, if you've got questions around integrations and how the plugins are structured or anything like that as you go along, just use the GitHub to stay in touch.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'll reach out to you, Michael, with the list of the registered participants on my side, so you can see who's registered, and then I can make connections as and when.
Great, thank you.
Thanks very much for coming and joining today, and explaining more about your project.
Yeah, you bet.
Are there any other project leads on this call who would like to come and talk a little bit about their project? I see we've got some questions coming up, Joseph. We've had a couple of nice technical. Well, we had very nice technical one come in on the Q&A.
Yeah, around what time? I was just about to. I was just typing a response, but maybe it's best if we just talk it instead, and then everyone could benefit. So the question is, there's a tech question around trying to use the impact framework on a large data set with about 200,000 rows. One of the plugins is what time, and including that API slows down the performance quite a lot. Yes, the external API calls do slow it down a lot for sure. But they're running into some connection errors around the 3-hour mark. Upon reading the restrictions part of the what time docs, we discovered that there are restrictions on the amount of calls per second. We don't see why there would be a connection issue 3 hours into the run. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. We were actually deep diving what time on Friday and discovered a few things about the what time API that we didn't quite appreciate before as well. And one of the things which maybe this is the reason for you as well, Stefan, but there's a limit imposed by the what time API that the total time span for the for your inputs array can't exceed 32 days. And if it does, then the plugin will error out. And that might be the reason. If you've got 200,000 rows, maybe your inputs array is too large, or it covers too long a time period. 32 days is the limit, and beyond that, what time will reject the API request. So maybe something in your data set exceeds that limit around the 3-hour mark. I'm not sure, obviously, because I don't know exactly your setup or what your manifest file looks like, but that was something that we discovered on Friday. That was a little surprise because all of our unit tests didn't do a 32-day run, so it just kind of slipped through. And it was only really doing a deep dive into why some of the integration tests weren't working that uncovered that API limit. So maybe that's the same for you. I'm not sure. There's definitely a lot of nuances to the what time API. I think that's yeah. I don't really have any other speculations on it right now as to why that might be happening. If you're not being throttled, or if you're not exceeding the number of calls per second, then maybe that's the reason.
And to your other questions, Stefan, I've just seen your registration come through. So now your project's registered, I'll be connecting you with the IF team directly over email. So if you want to follow up on this, if you've got any other queries related to this issue, you'll have an email thread which you can have a direct connection to the IF team. I thought I'd just take a moment to answer the couple of related questions. So Stefan asked about what do I need to do once I've raised my project, because some of the projects on there are labeled as registered and others are labeled as draft. So there's a sort of two magical steps you need to take to submit a project. So the first is to raise a GitHub issue, As you can see, these are GitHub issues which represent a project proposal. And you can raise that very, very easily just by hitting the new issue and filling in the template. So that anybody can raise a project. So these are all of the projects that have been raised so far. The second magical step is once you've raised your project, and I'll show you the documentation for this, is to register your project. So once it's been raised as a GitHub issue, in our wiki, you'll find a link to a registration form. So simply hack.greensoftware.foundation/register, and we just ask you to fill in this form. This will then provide us further details about you and about your project, because at the moment all we get is obviously your GitHub handle. We get no further details and we can't reach out to you via email. So once you've raised your project on GitHub, simply fill in this form. It'll pop up literally on my desk, and I'll set up an email thread between ourselves and the IF team. So you'll have direct access to the IF team and a few other benefits, a couple of other benefits from our community partners. So once you've got a project, please do take a moment to register it, because that's the first official step of becoming a project under Carbon Hack. And Rachel, I wanted to just pick up your question as well. So Rachel said, I'm a newbie UX writer and I'm still training to be one. I see the hackathon as an opportunity to contribute solutions while learning. How do I propose solutions? So really simply, if you've got an idea, simply hit new issue and raise a project submission. This is very simple structure where you can propose an idea for a project. And once it's been proposed, once it's here, you'll get the ability to start asking questions of wonderful people like Joseph. So you'll probably see, let me see if I can find a good example. You'll start to be able to see some activity, get some feedback, recruit against your idea, but also the IF team will respond to your proposal and sort of answer any questions you've raised as part of your proposal. If you're not sure what sort of idea to raise, maybe you want some inspiration, within the discussion section, you'll find a listing. We did put originally together a sort of a set of ideas for potential projects. So have a look through there, see if there's anything that catches your eye. There's all kinds of a variety of different ideas, potential projects there. But very much, even if you're at sort of a starting stage on your journey and you'd like to sort of propose a project related to the Carbon Hack, content projects might be a good way to go. You don't necessarily have to do a technical project where you're building solutions. We have content projects where we're encouraging people to create content connected to the impact framework. So whether this is training, whether this is promotion, or this in this example is a case study connected to it. So content projects are maybe an easier, lower barrier to entry for a project where maybe you're not ready to build something, or you're not coming from a discipline where you're sort of coding every day. So Rachel, I hope that gives you sort of a starting point. So we'd love to have you raise a project. Very simple. Once you're raised, please register and you'll get full direct access to the IF team, and we'll support you on your journey of developing your solution. And let's have a look. Q&A. Have we got any more unanswered questions? Oh, see, we've got another technical question come up, Joseph.
Yeah, sorry, I was just answering another. I'm just reading through this from Google Pixel 6. Is there a Slack channel to get queries answered? No, there is not. I'm just reading through the error messages that you posted in the Q&A. The best thing to do is if you're getting error messages and getting stuck on debugging yourself, then raise a ticket on the IF repository and we'll look into it. Chances are it's some config that's incorrect in the manifest or something like that. But if you raise a ticket, then someone from the core team can investigate and try and reproduce and debug you. There's no Slack channel.
And just to confirm, you want an issues raised on GitHub/IF. Would that be a place to raise an issue?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and a couple of people have done that already, and they've been fixed and closed out and debugged and unblocked. So that's a good way. That's a good way to do it. We're constantly looking at the issue board, trying to get that number down.
Yeah. While doing everything else you're doing. So yeah, you're doing a fantastic job.
Manish, there isn't a Slack link. You can't share the link because there is no Slack. Pointing you towards the issue board.
Yeah, everything is happening through our GitHub repository. So this is sort of the community hub, should we say, for the hackathon. So if you have specific queries, questions, anything you'd like to know, please do use the discussion section. Feel free to raise a discussion around anything you'd like to know in relation to the hackathon, the IF in relation to the prizes, things like this. This is your sort of central source information. There is no Discord, there is no Slack. We're keeping everything open, transparent, and hosted on this GitHub repository. And if you're very, very stuck, you'll find an email address on the landing page, the hack landing page, Carbon Hack. Where is it? The email addresses. Carbon Hack at greensoftware.foundation if you're incredibly stuck. But we do actively monitor the GitHub repository and we'll try and respond to all the queries that are raised there. Okay.
Yeah, anything that comes through on the IF issue board, I will see immediately. It's literally sitting on a second screen on my desk all day, every day. So we will see it and we will respond to whatever comes through there as quick as we can.
Good. Amazing. So before we move on, last call for any either project leads or technical questions around IF. I'm conscious we've got about just over 15 minutes left, and I want to run through the submission process. So for those who are building projects, how do you go about submitting it for judging? So it's like 30 seconds for last call for any questions today. Otherwise, as we talked about, there's a few different avenues you can use for getting support. Okay, all quiet. Good. Okay. Please do ask anything that pops into your head. We'll come back to it at the end if we have time. Otherwise, I want to talk about how do you submit your solution. So the hackathon obviously officially started on the 18th of March and officially finishes on the 8th of April. And between now and then, obviously been happily hacking away, but what do you do when you want to submit your solution for judging? I'm going to briefly remind everybody what judging means and what are the prizes on offer. As I mentioned right at the start, we have 4 distinct prizes: Beyond Carbon, Best Plugin, Best Content, and Best Contribution. And there are special prize categories for under 18s and undergraduates. So these are the areas in which we're looking for projects to be developed in relation to the impact framework. And for each of these prizes, we have a set of defined judging criteria. So these are the criteria that our judging panel will use to evaluate each of the submitted projects. And you'll find all of this, as always, documented on our wiki. But how do you go about submitting? So we've now published the submission guidelines. So for you to be eligible for a prize, a Carbon Hack, we need you to fill in your submission before the end of April the 7th. So judging will happen very shortly after. So we need you to do 3 things once you have a project in a state where you'd like to submit it for judging. So we're going to ask all teams to prepare a video submission. So this seems to be a very common thing in hackathons, and is a really nice way for you to demonstrate your solution and how it works and what you've really built. So we're asking teams to prepare a very short video submission, which in effect is a demo. We're not so much looking for sort of fancy presentations. We're very much looking for a demo where you show us what you've built and show us in some sort of working fashion. So a nice short video that really demonstrates the solution you've built, what it does. And that can be code, that can be a technical solution if you're submitting for one of the more technical prize categories. Content, this can be demonstrating the content you developed. Really give us a sort of an indication of what you've built and what it does. To aid you and us a little bit really, you'll find there's a video presentation template. Really simple little template that we'd ask you to use as sort of the introduction for your video. So simply fill in your name, choose the appropriate slide for the prize category you're submitting against, give us a brief description, and then show us your solution. Nice simple formula we're asking all the teams to use, just so there's a sort of consistent structure for the video submissions. So put together a short video demonstrating your solution and upload it to YouTube. So we don't want you to submit videos to us. We're not going to provide any hosting. Choose your hosting provider. YouTube would be a good option, especially because then it's something you can show off a bit later after the hackathon. So start with your video submission. And once you have that, start thinking about additional content. So the bulk of your submission should go on your project issue. So the first step in getting involved in Carbon Hack was raising that GitHub issue. What we'd like you to do is add into the description field of that issue a number of new sections. So we're not asking for too much, or we're not asking for too much text, should I say. We're not looking for tombs. We're trying to keep sort of a reasonably concise word limit. But really, we'd like you to sort of work through the sections and just describe your solution from a very high level summary and the problems that you've tackled through to sort of what inspired you and the challenge you had while you were building the solution. So give us some insights into your project, the way you developed it, the experience you had throughout the hackathon, and potentially, most importantly, what next? So we're really sort of looking for projects which have some sort of runway or longevity. What will you do to potentially continue developing this solution after this hackathon? Because we'd really value solutions where I guess the IF team can, in collaboration with you, continue to grow the ecosystem around Impact Framework. So we're looking for solutions which does have a plan for growing and developing further after this hackathon. We've prepared a sample. So you'll find in the issues list an example project, which gives you a very, very, very simple sort of example of the sort of structure we're looking for. So please do keep your original submission content and then update your description with the fields below. And you'll find on here a video link. So once you have your video prepared and uploaded somewhere, link it from your GitHub issue. These two factors will be judged. Your submission will be judged by the panel, both on the submission video and on the content of the GitHub issue. I think there were some questions about working software, and we've added some additional things to the frequently asked questions, which I demonstrated earlier, about how we're looking for code submissions and whether things will be run for review. So I think Joseph, we settled on it's unlikely with timings that our judges are going to be running everything, but they might well look in a bit more of a technical level into some of the solutions. But really, this is why we'd like to see details about your solution in your submission.
I think it'd be good to explain how to run the solution in case the judges want to dive in and try it. equally, if you run out of time or something like that and the solution doesn't run, then explain that, and that will prevent the judges from trying and failing.
And that's a really good point. I think learnings are as important as probably working solutions in some ways. So if you've made some really good progress in an area, you've set quite an ambitious target for yourself maybe, and for whatever reason didn't quite get to where you wanted, please do submit your solution still. We'd like to see learnings. We'd like to understand the journey you went on, the challenges you had in relation to the ecosystem, working with the impact framework. Please do submit solutions, even if it is not maybe as polished as you'd like or as far along as you'd hoped. We'd like to see the effort and the progress you've made and the learnings you've had on that journey. I think that's going to be a key thing. We're looking for potential as much as final polished solutions. Once you've got that, once you've got your video, once you've updated your GitHub issue, the next step will be to complete a form, which we are just putting the finishing touches to, but there will be a form on the Carbon Hack landing page, very similar to the registration form, where we'll just ask you to submit your solution really. Again, give us a notification, make sure we are on. We will be aware that you've officially submitted your project. So we'd ask you to do all of those three things by 23:59 on the 7th of April. Now I'll just pause there and see if there's any questions about the judging criteria, submission process. You can see a couple of comments come up. Best content track would be judged based on the video submission we make, dependent on the content. Both the submission you make and the video, I think, will be judged together. So depending on what that content is, but obviously it's a good chance for us to see what you built. How much the best content track include? Yeah, that's it. So we'd like everybody to submit a video, whether it's a technical, whether it's a plugin contribution or a content submission. We'd really like to see what you built. It gives us a great indication of what you've built. And very briefly, while I'm talking about judges, judging prizes and submissions, just to reiterate a few basic rules. We're looking for people to be just part of one team. So we've seen a few people, which has been great, submitting multiple projects for the hackathon, but we're really restricting participation to one project. So if you have raised multiple projects, I think I've probably hopefully reached out to you all individually, but if I haven't, please choose one. Please choose one project to focus on and only submit one project you are part of for judging. That's one of the sort of the most basic rules we have. Team sizes, we've relaxed. As I previously mentioned, there's no maximum team size anymore. But you'll find all of the rules covering submission, the projects themselves, and judging on our wiki. So everything should be on there. If you have any additional questions about submission, about judging, please either raise it on your ticket and we'll respond. Respond to your thread that I've sent to you, email thread I've sent to you, or discussions. So make sure that this is as clear, and we are as always here to support you in this process. We really want to see your submissions and make this as painless for you as possible. Cool. I can't see any other questions or anything in chat about submissions. Good. Any thoughts from your side, Joseph? Does that all sound like it makes sense from your side?
Yeah. It makes sense to me. Yeah, if anyone has any more questions they want to drop in the Q&A widget, or if you're a project leader and you want to quickly share your project, then let us know in the chat.
Well, while we're giving people a moment for that, I had one piece of housekeeping news is that we won't be having a live stream call next week. So next week in the UK is a bank holiday. So Asim, Joseph, and the rest of the IO team are taking a well-deserved extended break. So we won't be having a live stream call on next Monday, and we'll be restarting again the Monday after. And I think that will be the last one, if my memory serves me right, that will be the last one before the end of the hackathon. So that will be, no, sorry, that will be the one on the last day of the hackathon. It'll be on the 8th of April. Doesn't look like we've got any comments, questions, Joseph. Maybe this is a good point to wrap up for the day.
Yeah, sure.
Good. Okay, well, thank you all for your time today. If you do have any more questions, as we said, please either drop them on your project GitHub issue, respond to email thread, or drop them into the discussions in GitHub Repository. But yeah, thank you to those who came on and spoke about their project. Thank you to everybody who raised all your questions. I think there's some bits to keep Joseph busy potentially after this call. So thank you for that. And well, we wish you all luck for the remainder of the hackathon. Happy hacking, and we're really looking forward to the next step being the submission of solutions. And we'll see you all back on the 8th of April.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks all. Have a great rest of your day.